So, let's talk about one of the most incredible survival stories in the automotive world. It's the story of a brand that you don't just see, you hear. A brand defined by one of the most iconic sounds ever made.
You know that sound? It's not just some engine noise. It's the unmistakable heartbeat of a true legend, the Royal Enfield Bullet. It's a sound that's been echoing on roads for almost 100 years.
See, this isn't just a story about success. Oh no. This is the story of how a legendary brand was pushed right to the absolute edge of extinction, and the unbelievable fight to bring it back from the dead.
Now, to really get why the comeback is so amazing, you've got to understand the legacy. And for Royal Enfield, that story starts way back in 19th century Britain.
You know, their history is kind of wild. The company actually started out making sewing needles, of all things, before getting into bicycles in 1893. By 1901, they'd built their very first motorcycle. But 1932, that was the real game changer. That's the year the legendary Bullet was born. And just to give you an idea of how tough these things were, during World War II they made a special version called the Flying Flea that was literally dropped out of airplanes onto battlefields like D-Day. Yeah, that's the kind of DNA we're talking about here.
But here's the thing about legends. Even they can fall. And by the late 20th century, this British giant was starting to seriously crumble.
The beginning of the end really started in 1967, when the original British factory shut its doors for good. Now, production did continue over in India, but the brand was in deep trouble. By the 90s, when Eicher Group took it over, Royal Enfield had this massive image problem. People thought of these heavy bikes as something for the army or maybe for a rugged cross-country tour, definitely not for your daily commute. All the while, competitors were just flooding the market with these lighter, more fuel-efficient bikes. And the result? Royal Enfield was losing millions. The board was literally ready to pull the plug and shut it all down.
And this is where the whole story flips on its head. With the company on its last legs, one man stepped in with a totally different way of looking at things. His name was Siddhartha Lal.
This quote just nails his whole approach. Siddhartha, who was a mechanical engineer and a huge biker himself, saw something the guys in the boardroom just couldn't. He didn't see a failing company. He saw a legendary brand, with all this incredible potential just buried under years of neglect and technical problems. He wasn't there to just balance the books, he was there to save the bike that he himself loved to ride.
So what was his grand plan? Something so simple it was genius. He got on the bike, and he just rode. And he kept riding, for thousands of kilometers. He wanted to feel every single vibration, every single thing that would frustrate a real rider. He wasn't staring at spreadsheets, he was listening to the machine. His plan boiled down to this: find every bug, fix the mechanics, but, and this is the crucial part, do not mess with that vintage look and feel. Do not touch the soul of the brand.
And this way of thinking wasn't just talk. It led to real, hands-on changes that would completely transform what it was like to ride a Bullet.
And this just shows you how smart his plan was. He tackled the biggest rider complaints one by one. The gear shifter, it was on the right foot, which was weird and non-standard, so he moved it to the left, like every other bike. The kickstart, it was notorious for this brutal kickback that could literally break your leg. He added a modern, convenient self-start. That old cast-iron engine was leaky and just plain unreliable, so he brought in a new, solid unit construction engine. These weren't just tiny tweaks, they were massive quality-of-life upgrades that turned riding a Bullet from a chore into a pure joy.
Okay, so the machine was fixed. It was reliable, it was convenient, but it still had that classic soul. But now came the even bigger mountain to climb, changing how people thought about the brand in a market that had pretty much forgotten it.
What happened next is honestly one of the most radical, bet-the-farm business turnarounds you will ever see. It's proof that a laser-sharp focus can build a true empire. So when Siddhartha became CEO of the parent company Eicher Group, it was the sprawling mess of 15 different businesses, everything from footwear to consulting, and he made a move that just stunned everybody. He sold 13 of them. He even sold the company's original profitable tractor business. Why would he do that? His belief was simple. It's better to be the absolute king of one or two markets than to be a failure in 15. All that money, all that focus was now aimed at just two things: motorcycles and trucks.
And that focus, it led to some absolutely staggering ambition. This number, 825,000, that was Royal Enfield's production target for a single year, 2018. Think about that. From being weeks away from being shut down to aiming for almost 1 million bikes a year. It's just a mind-boggling turnaround.
And if you want to put their success into perspective, just look at this. Royal Enfield started selling more motorcycles in India alone than a global icon like Harley-Davidson sold across the entire planet. They didn't just survive, they completely and utterly dominated the mid-size motorcycle market.
You see, in the end, they realized they weren't just selling motorcycles. They started organizing these rides, events, and adventure trips, and in doing so, they built this incredibly powerful, loyal community. People weren't just buying a bike anymore. They were buying into a lifestyle, a legacy, a tribe. Today, people will wait for months to get their hands on a bike that just 20 years ago, the company basically couldn't give away.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thought. In a world that's always chasing technical perfection, Royal Enfield proved that character, that legacy, and having a real, deep connection with your riders can be an even more powerful force. It's the ultimate proof that sometimes, to save a legend, you don't need to reinvent it, you just need to listen to its heartbeat.